Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Finance Rebel Show. I'm Kamari Ellis, the Finance Rebel. Today is our Wealthy Conversation segment of the Finance Rebel Show. And as you know, I am kind of obsessed with Black wealth. So I talk about Black wealth all the time. And in particular, creating financial parity and Black wealth as it relates to the Black community. That's what I'm obsessed with. So today, the main topic of our show is going to be about eradicating Black wealth, or one of the ways that you can eradicate Black wealth. And I should say, begin to eradicate Black wealth, because it's not just one thing. It's actually multiple things that go into that pie to begin creating parity for the Black community financially in America. So again, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is well. Welcome to my IG people. Welcome to my Facebook and my YouTube people. As usual, we'll be getting things popping. Hey, Miss Edith, how you doing? B Barbie 2, how are you? And Drea Crocker, how are you? I think I said your name right correctly. If I did not, I apologize. But listen, everybody, the Finance Rebel Show is all about increasing financial IQ, especially in the Black community. The majority of things that I talk about typically are in the context of the Black community again. So today, it's kind of funny, right? I got caught off into a rabbit hole just a little bit, because I wrote a piece years ago called Destroying the Black Wealth Gap. And it got a pretty good amount of traction. And to me, it's just commonsensical things that a lot of times that we don't talk about as a community, things that aren't necessarily put in the limelight or aren't sexy, but they're just like basic things. And so I've seen some people kind of resurgence and start to talk about it. I've even decided to write a book or make a book out of this article that I wrote. Hopefully I'll get it out before the end of the year, because I have a lot more thoughts on this. Again, as you see, I am actually obsessed with Black wealth. I talk about it all the time. I talk about it on the show. Even created a whole other show to talk about it called the Black Wealth Project, which we do every Sunday at 7 p.m. But this week, I saw a lot of things come out about Black wealth, and it harkened me back to my article that I wrote about 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, or actually a little bit more than 4 years ago. And I was like, wow, people are just now starting to wake up to this, which is a good thing, right? Which is a good thing. So we're definitely going to talk about that. But before we get into that, we got to do our rundown. You know, we do the rundown every Saturday when we do Wealthy Conversation. So the stock market, the S&P 500 closed at 3483. All right, so the S&P 500 is up 7.83% year to date. All right, so the market's up year to date. Oil, $40.78. Oil is still down. It's not going to be positive for the year anytime soon, but oil is still down, a negative 28.43%. So we all know oil got his butt kicked, still getting his butt kicked. But I think it's kind of creating a silver lining, so to speak, and possibly some opportunities for investments. All right, and gold. Gold closed this week at 1902. Now, gold is up 22.96%. Might as well say 23% year to date. So gold is doing relatively good this year, because a lot of people are anticipating inflation. I don't think inflation is really going to pop off like the way they say it is. If you remember back to 2007, 2008, 2009, when the Great Recession occurred, and then President Bush started TARP, what's it, the Troubled Assets Recovery Program, and then they had like cash for clunkers and all those things. They were expecting inflation. Still can't find the inflation though. Inflation's still about a little under 2% a year, which is about what the Federal Reserve is expecting it to be and what their target is. So, you know, a lot of people are still expecting inflation to come back. That's why we're seeing gold at 1902. A lot of times people put their money in what's called safe haven assets when they see a lot of problems, right? And so we clearly have a lot of problems. All right. So again, I think gold's going to be up for a while. I don't expect it to go too much higher. It seems like it peaked out around, I think it was 1930-ish, maybe 1920-ish, and it hasn't been able to get up above that. I doubt gold goes above 2000. $2,000 an ounce, because that's how they look at gold. They judge gold by the ounce. They judge oil by the barrel, right? And they judge the S&P 500 or overall stock market just by an average of 500 stocks, what the price is. All right. So a couple interesting headlines before we get into the main topic today. Amazon Prime Day, had Prime Day. So Amazon so flossy, so bossy that they created basically their own Black Friday. And they run it for like 2 days. They did $3 billion in sales. Now, I was actually looking for a laptop. I didn't really see anything that was super duper spectacular. Some of the stuff I see on Amazon Prime, in my opinion, isn't really that impressive. That's just me. I think some people oftentimes, when they think they're getting a sale, they're actually saving money, but 9 times out of 10, they're buying stuff that they don't need anyway. So it's, at the end of the day, a waste of money. But that's just my opinion. But they did $3 billion in 2 days. That's impressive. All right. The other thing that really stuck out to me this week, American Airlines. American Airlines CEO said he doesn't expect to see airline travel to resume to normal until 2024, right? So that kind of ties directly back into the oil and why we're seeing oil prices fall off. Oil prices have fallen off because economic activity has jumped off a cliff. Now, when I say economic activity, I'm talking about people traveling, planes, trains, and automobiles. Nobody's really traveling. We're seeing some people start to pick up. We're seeing some people starting to travel a little bit. But for the most part, people are still scared. And now we're also starting to see what they call a third wave, or they're calling a new wave of corona cases that are coming up and starting to spike again. So that's still not under wraps. So as long as corona, which is a health issue, continues to kick up, we're going to continue to have economic issues overall. So again, it's going to be a really, really interesting time. So like I said, today I'm going to talk about Black wealth. Again, y'all know I'm obsessed with Black wealth because why? I'm Black, right? And one of the major reasons why I even got into the industry the way that I did was because I thought it was the way to help the Black community do better. I don't believe the same anymore, but money is still a major component. But I think there's some other things the Black community really needs to do that comes head and shoulders above solving our money price problems. But I'm still infatuated with the idea of Black wealth. I'm still very intrigued by it. So I want to keep talking about it. And as y'all all know, I love the stock market. So this week, there was an article, but before I even talk about this week, right, I want to show y'all something real quick. So at the top of the show, I mentioned that I wrote an article a couple of years ago called The Guide to Creating Black Wealth, or The Guide to Black Wealth, right? So I want to show y'all something. So in this particular version, there's about 15 points in here, and I will share the link for anybody who wants to read it. Like I said, I want to make a book out of this before the end of the year. I got a lot more things. I've been thinking about it for a long time. But point number 10 says, learn and embrace investing, not just real estate. And I was speaking of the stock market. All right. It's been reported, it's been studied that Black folks do not like the stock market, but there's reasons why. All right. So I talk about the stock market because the stock market, in my opinion, is probably one of the greatest creators of wealth that has ever been on the earth outside of life insurance, or only second to life insurance. We don't mess with it. The Black community, that is. We don't mess with it. But I thought of this after I read a couple of other articles that came out this week, and they were actually very, very good articles, right? So, I wrote this. When did I publish this? Let me go back and look. I published this. Give me 1 second, folks. I want to say it was in like January of 2016. And I wrote this one night. I wrote it all in one night, almost, because I was frustrated reading all these reports about the Black wealth gap. Yeah, so I published it January 22nd, 2016. So I published this January 22nd, 2016. Again, The Guide to Black Wealth. But I wrote it because there were all these reports talking about Black wealth, and they were studying it, as they should, right? And it was saying that, Your average black family has about $11,000 in net worth, and your average white family has approximately about $144,000 in net worth. And it frustrated me. It frustrated the hell out of me because I didn't see a whole lot of solutions. And listen, before I get too deep, I just want to put this out there. We all know that systemic racism is the major cause of the black wealth gap. Everything from slavery to Jim Crow to redlining to crack cocaine all contribute to the wealth disparity and the income inequality that takes place in our community, right? We know that. However, I'm a firm believer, because I like to study military strategy, that you can never truly become free. You can never truly, I guess, emancipate your freedom. Like Bob Marley says, again, emancipate your freedom if you are not doing everything that you can to emancipate yourself or free yourself or elevate yourself, whatever term you want to use, right? And so I feel that when we look and we become introspective in our community and start thinking about what can we do, right, instead of just complaining about the system, because I don't want to just sit and complain about the system. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised that if somebody is attacking you, figure out a way to, one, defend yourself, and then two, nullify the attack. And I take that mentality into everything that I do. Sometimes that means not attacking at all. Sometimes that means not doing anything at all. I think many of our ancestors understood that. But again, that's in strategy. But it's still a proactive thing. Even when you're doing nothing, when you're consciously doing nothing, not just when you're just doing nothing, but when you're constantly doing nothing, when you're sitting and waiting and you're planning, plotting, and strategizing, that is a strategy. That is a tactic. But I don't see the consciousness going into that on a many levels. So again, I wrote this piece. All right. So I wrote that piece. Again, it's like 15 points. It's 15 points. And that's number 10. But I wrote that piece because, again, I was frustrated about what I feel is the lack of response, the lack of strategy, the lack of elevation that many of us are putting forward. Now, that's not to say that nobody's not thinking like this. Got to give shout outs to people like the NOI, the Nation of Islam, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, Dr. Claude Anderson, many of others who are actually thinking and talking about this, but I don't see it mass adopted in our community. And again, that frustrates me as well. That's part of the reason why I do these shows. Many times our children and our families suffer because we don't have money to do certain things, right? And I'm not talking about money for materialism's sake, right? I'm talking about money for like schools, for books, for technology, for all of these things that will help enhance our quality of life, for all these things that will enhance our ability to better position ourselves to fight a real fight against those who seek to keep us down. All right. So, that's why I get it. And that's why I wrote it. And I'll say this. A lot of times people say, money isn't the solution. And I've admittedly said that money isn't probably the most important solution, but you can't have a revolution without revenue, folks. Every other oppressed people understands that. And it just seems like we don't. I don't know why. But maybe that's part of the programming we haven't rejected yet that we got from our slave masters. But again, we really have to start getting serious about this because we are getting more and more. We're getting more and more generations into this, and we're missing out on a lot of things. All right. So before I get into more of the meat of this, just want to shout out everybody. So, hey, Miss Edith, Melody Alton, how are you, sir? Thanks for joining. Miss Shine, how are you? Top of the morning to you. Katisa Rao, how are you? Kelly from Kelly's Closet. Everybody go follow Kelly's Closet. Kelly is the biggest manufacturer of plus size lingerie in the country. And guess what? She's a black owned business. So shout out to Kelly. Yep, all is well. Don Johnson, how are you, sir? Morning. Mr. Daniels, how are you, sir? From Wichita. Mark, how are you? Definitely a good thing. Thank you, sir. Lloyd Hughes, good morning to you, sir. Mark M, how are you? Adrian, how are you? Divvy Wilbur, how about investing in aquifers, and I believe he's talking about aquaponics. Please share the link to the article, Kamar. Yes, I will do. Will do. We at the Black World Project has been consistently discussing this article. You know what, Talisha? I looked at the article this morning and I see the Black Wealth Project all in there. By the way, shout out to the Black Wealth Project. The Black Wealth Project is a great thing, in my opinion. These are a group of sisters who are putting together a platform for Black folks to invest in other Black-owned businesses, right? We often talk about not having access to capital. However, within the Black community, we have roughly 1.3 trillion in spending power. What that is, right? We spend 1.3 trillion dollars every year. Approximately only 2% of that 1.3 trillion goes to Black-owned businesses. And we wonder why there's a wealth gap. Not to say that it's going to solve it all. It will not. However, it doesn't benefit the Black community's interest to just spend money outside of the community with other people. It really benefits us to spend with our own. Why does it benefit us to spend with our own? Because the Black businesses outside of federal government are the biggest employers of Black people. If we want to see a change in wealth, standard of living, quality of life, we got to start spending money with our own people. That's actually probably the number one thing that we can do that will show immediate results. Now, Maggie Anderson has a wonderful book called Our Black Year. I usually have it with me. And guess what? I got it with me today, right? So I suggest everybody to read this book, Our Black Year. Again, Our Black Year by Maggie Anderson. Maggie and her husband out in Chicago took on a whole year to buy Black. Now, not talking about mortgages or utility bills, but everything else, right? All discretionary income was to be brought from a Black-owned business. And they did that. But they also got called racist for doing that. But nobody calls the Jewish community racist for supporting their own. Nobody calls the Irish community racist for supporting their own. Nobody calls the Italian community racist when they go to their own Italian restaurants and go to the Italian market in Philadelphia. We have a whole Italian market where they sell meats and seafood and all other kind of wares. It's a whole area in Philadelphia. But nobody calls them racist for doing that. We only get accused for that. You got to ask yourself why. All right, so Aries Robinson, good morning to you. It's sad that there aren't any Black auto manufacturers in the U.S. Yeah, but there's supposedly a manufacturer in Nigeria. So maybe because Nigerians are Black, Africans are Black. Sometimes I have to remind people of that because they kind of make this distinction. Aquifers equal underground water supplies. Okay. I was thinking about the ducks, and I'm sorry, DV. I didn't mean to say he or any other inappropriate pronouns. All right, so Talisha says we commissioned an economic study to complement our efforts, and it was identified a 98% leakage in our community. Yep. So, like I said, before I get into everything, let me just say hello, because y'all, I am just recovering. Tax season is finally over. The final Instagram is giving me issues, y'all. Gerber Management, how are you? B Barbie, how are you? Dreddy Crocker, how are you? McSween Steven, how are you? She does home deliveries. Hey, how you doing? Where you been? We've got Mel 21. How are you? NC Realtor Man, how are you, man? How you doing? Big Stove, what's up, my brother? How you doing? No golf today? Mid Atlantic, how you doing? Your stuff will be going out soon. Big Stove says he agrees. I missed where he agreed at though. The Kaizen Investor. Good morning to you. Sweet Pea 1064, excuse me. How are you? Andy Maxon, how are you? All right, folks. So I came across a couple articles this week. One in the New York Post and another in the Washington Post. Shout out to Michelle Singletary at the Washington Post, though. Like she writes great stuff. And it's so dead on. So I want to talk about that today, just a little bit. And before I get going, and I forget, I was asked to put the link to the article in the chat, so I will do that. So that's the link to the piece that I wrote about 4 years ago talking about Black wealth. That's the piece Talisha Shine and the Black Wealth Project have been studying, it seems like, because they have gone through every piece of that article and highlighted or made notes. Again, I wasn't expecting it to have this much of an impact because, again, to me, like a lot of this stuff is just common sense, I guess, to a certain degree. But then as we get deeper than this, I'll explain some of the other lackings or growth or potential of growth, not potential, right? Or growth that I had after I started to write this. So I wanted to show you the article from the New York Post real quick. All right. And it's talking about some of the things that we are doing wrong as it relates to Black wealth and its aggregate. All right. So here's an article. Stocks are soaring, but most Black people are missing out. We're missing out. Let me make that a little bit bigger. All right. So this is an article by the Associated Press. And the brother that is on the first page or in this in this image, he's a banking executive, Bob Marshall, an active stock investor, poses at his home in Ashburn, Virginia. So we got a brother here representing the Black investor group. And when I say group, I'm talking broadly. All right. So in New York, Americans who own stocks are pulling further away from those who don't, as Wall Street soars back to record highs while much of the economy struggles. And Black households are much more likely to be in that not as fortunate group that isn't in the stock market. Only 33.5% of Black households owned stocks in 2019, according to data released recently by the Federal Reserve. Among white households, the ownership rate is nearly 61%. Hispanic and other minority households are also less likely than white families to own stocks. All right. So I'm just going to kind of give you all the brief bullet points. I'll put this article in the comment section or in the show notes as well. All right. And so it shows here racial minorities in the U.S. still lag stock ownership. And then it just shows the chart here. And, we are kind of at the bottom. All right. It has the whites at the top. It says gray for other. And then we have the purple line, which is second from the bottom, only to be beat to the race to the bottom by Hispanics or Latinos. I'm not sure which one is the PC, is the PC terminology right now. All right. So Black people have also lacked the opportunity to build up wealth, park it in the market, and watch it grow over time. In general, they have lower incomes, which leave less money to invest after paying bills. Many also work jobs that don't offer retirement plans like a 401k. Now, y'all know I'm always talking about 401k and the benefits of 401k and how great 401ks are. So keep that in mind. The typical Black family has less than $13 for every $100. So again, I'm going to repeat that. The typical Black family has $13 for every $100 held by white families. All right. Lower rates of stock ownership are a small reason why. The most important factor may be the restricted access Black borrowers had to mortgages and affordable housing through decades of redlining and other discriminatory practices, said Raphael Bostic, president of the Federal Reserve of Atlanta. All right. So these are many, many things here that are interesting. All right. So here it says a cultural bias. Kashif Ahmed, president of American Private Wealth, a financial planning firm in Bedford, Massachusetts, remembers giving a talk to a Black church about the higher long-term rates that stock have historically provided. One person sitting in the audience said, "That's all fine and wonderful, but this is all for white folks," he said. All right. So there is this paradigm, ideal mindset, I don't know what to call it, that feels that stock ownership, well, in the Black community, that feels that stock ownership is only for white communities. All right. And I'm going to come to that shortly. And so he goes on and says, my personal opinion is Black Americans tend not to trust things that are not tangible because of our history in this country and things being taken away. It gets passed on to you from generation to generation to only trust and believe in things you can actually touch. All right. So that quote came from Malcolm Etheridge, a financial advisor in the Washington area, regularly sees a reluctance to invest in stocks among Black people with enough money to do so, such as tech executives, attorneys, and people with inherited rental properties. All right, so shout out to Malcolm. Shout out to all the Black financial advisors and planners who are working to do the right thing in the community. A house I can put my hands on. That I can put my hands on that and believe in that. Whereas a stock is just wherever someone else tells me it's worth, and I just have to take your word for it. Okay. So Bob Marshall talked about that. That's the guy that was in the picture above. Again, he's a banking executive in Northern Virginia who is Black and does invest in the stocks. Said differences in financial literacy education may be one factor in the racial disparity and stock ownership rates, or he said because fewer Black families have wealth that has carried through generations, they be more that maybe more were wary, maybe more wary of risky investments. Then he says, I'm building wealth for my children and grandchildren, so I'm going to hold on to more of it and be risk averse. He said, is a common theme. Building and keeping that wealth is more important from a legacy perspective than may be amassing 20 or 30% more. All right. So this is the last quote from this article. All right. Generational challenges. Rogers. They're talking about John Rogers, who founded Ariel Investments. Y'all know I talk about him a lot. John Rogers is actually one of my heroes. Okay. So there isn't a passing down of knowledge from generation to generation, he said. It's the opposite of what I hear from Warren Buffett about the magic of compound interest and how much wealth has been created since he was born. These kinds of stories don't happen in Black communities. So I would typically agree with that sentiment. And again, we're speaking in generalities, right? Now, I know, right, if we're going on the personal side of things, my dad talked to me about compound interest, right? I was fortunate, right? So I know sometimes we have a hard time breaking out our own personal experiences from the experiences that the community is experiencing at large. So I share that. You know, my dad talked to me about compound interest. My dad was an accountant. My dad was first generation college. So he understood some of these things at great depth. But my dad was not pro stock market. He owned a piece of stock. I tell the story all the time. He owned a piece of stock, and I used to see him get dividend checks all the time. But he never opted to reinvest those dividends. He just put the money in cash. And my dad's very frugal, very frugal. So it wasn't like he needed the money to pay bills or anything else. He could have been reinvesting, but he didn't know. He didn't know. And that's no diss to my dad, right? That's just a story to illustrate even when you have some knowledge, you still may not have the whole pie. So listen, you always have to be learning. You always have to be a student. You always have to study and figure out better ways and better systems and tactics to go about approaching this. All right. So talking to my brother Corey. Corey be beating me up, y'all. I got a bought a hood hat, but Corey's my brother, right? From the Black Wealth Project. Shout out to Corey. Even though I'm in the Black Wealth gang, right? In the Buy the Hood gang, because I got my hat. I need to put that on. Where is that? I can't get my hands on it real quick. But Corey be beating on me sometimes, y'all. We stay intellectually sparring. That's actually the source of being Corey's relationship. But I actually enjoy it because it keeps me sharp. So Ms. Edith said, preach. Here to help fight the algo is absolutely Jimmy. I think we need, or Corey, whoever's behind that. Again, my Buy the Hood family. I think we need to do a Fight the Algo shirt. Thank you for the thank you, Ms. Edith. Give it a read and tell me what you think. Talisha Shine says that mentality will prove significantly inhibiting as digitalization of things comes, right? Assets become more prevalent, right? And I believe Talisha's talking about ownership of homes and not just stock, or the ownership of homes, or preferring real estate over the other asset classes. Because as we get further into digitalization or digital investing, you won't be able to touch as many things. You won't be able to actually touch it, feel it, smell it. So that mentality is going to further play against us and be detrimental for us as we go forward. So it's time for a mindset shift, y'all. It's time for a mindset shift. The question is, when does it happen? And who's going to promote it? Who's going to spark it? We need one desperately on all fronts, politically, economically, educationally, culturally. Those are some of the other things when I say, those are some of the other things when I say, I believe are more important than money. A lot of times we try to reduce everything or all our problems to money. But if we had better education, we had a better, if we had a better understanding of politics, if we had a better farming and grassroots and culture, not just Americanized culture that's kind of oppressed us and victimized us over the years, I think we would do better as a people. That's my opinion. A lot of people want to say, well, hey, I'm a Black American. I'm not patriotic like that, y'all. And I do feel that that patriotism holds us back because we've been in a system that has always fought against us. I mean, if you look at the cases from Plessy versus Ferguson to Board versus uh, Brown versus the Board of Ed in Kansas, to, I mean, to slavery, to Jim Crow, to black codes, to redlining, all of it points to planned out, very intentional oppression. Like, you can't get away from the facts. And so sometimes people look at me weird. Well, if you're not an American, what are you? I'm Black. I'm of African origin. I'm an African descendant. I don't feel the need to be a part of the other person's team. Now, yeah, I'm here. Don't get me wrong. That's not lost on me. And I'm all for leveraging the system for all my tax dollars that I pay into the system. But I think it's also mental suicide to say, you know what? I want to be a part of that game because they're the ruling people. I'm just not built like that, y'all. I'm just not built like that. You would have to make gracious amends, which I don't see coming anytime soon, for me to even get anywhere close to pledging my allegiance, which is another joke to me. But again, though that, to me, that sense of culture really informs much of my outlooks on wealth, on economics, on finance, on money, even taxes. I feel many of us um, don't take advantage again of the systems because many of us already know, like, there's unwritten rules, right? We already know that there's two different Americas, but we tend to operate as if they're one. No. Learn the system, leverage the system, pimp the system. Learn the system, leverage the system, pimp the system. That, to me, is what is the win here. But that takes time. That takes study. That takes intentionality. So, and that's going to take a higher level for all of us to get to, with education, with collaboration and communication, right? I mean, again, I try to work with other people because, one, I know it's not all about me. I try to work with About a Hood. Well, I don't try. I am working with About a Hood. I try to work with the Black Wealth Project and promote the Black Wealth Project. Many of you who have been rocking with me for years know I'm an avid supporter of Black-owned businesses. Why? Because it benefits Black people's interests. All right. So y'all might think I'm on a little rant right now. I'm not. All right. So, but we're talking about eradicating Black wealth. Yes, we need our own LLP. Now I see I see it printed out. Learn, leverage, pimp. Yes, learn, leverage, pimp. I like that. Maybe I'll make that a shirt. What about that, Jimmy? Corey? Is that a Black Wealth Project shirt? All right, so I want to go over this other article with Michelle Singletary. Again, shout outs to Michelle Singletary. She does an excellent job. Listen, y'all, we got to support Black journalists, especially Black journalists who talk about Black money. And Michelle talks about Black money very much unapologetically. All right, so here is an article that she wrote this week, or in the last week. I believe this was published on the 9th, all right, of October. So, the legacy of slavery made my grandmother fear investing. Now, the other article I talked about that a little bit, right? But here is the programming. Here is the psychology, and she kind of breaks it down. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing. But I'll be honest, I'm actually thinking about subscribing to the Washington Post just to read her stuff, because it aligns with a lot of the stuff that I wrote 4 years ago. The other article aligns with a lot of the stuff I wrote 4 years ago. And so when I saw it today, it's like, maybe I do need to put out more of my ideas, more of my thoughts, and promote them more vigorously. But it says, "Dear reader, my grandmother was fanatically frugal and a stupendous saver. All right. Big Mama, as she was called by all her grandchildren, showed me the power of having a well-stocked emergency fund. Ding, ding, ding. Y'all know I talk about emergency fund all the time, or as I call it, an opportunity fund, because the emergency fund creates opportunities for you to, one, stay alive, or two, to seize on potential investments to make more money, thus furthering your wealth endeavors. But for all of her financial shrewdness, she did not teach me to invest in the stock market. She taught me to fear it. Fear. Let me just stop there for a minute. Fear is one of these things that's really stopping the Black wealth momentum, or stopping us from destroying the Black wealth gap. There's many of us that have God-given gifts, abilities, and talents locked up inside of us that we won't let out, because we feel that we have to take care of family. I know Black women are experiencing that with a heavy toll, and they won't seek out their dreams. They won't seek out their journeys, right? Now, I know that is a bit idealistic. However, I am a believer you have to kind of marry pragmatism with idealism. Apple wouldn't be Apple if Steve Jobs and his partner were not idealists and figured out different ways to do things. Now, again, I actually don't like comparing Black situations with white, because they're totally different. However, I do think there's some good examples out there. However, they must all be remixed. I just want to preference that now. They must all be remixed for our particular situation. So a lot of times, me and Courtney talk. Shout out to Courtney, the Ivy investor, and we both agree. A lot of times, we don't have the opportunity and freedom to be idealists or to go after our dreams, because we have some other things precluding us or stopping us, impeding us from going that route. That's a problem. How does the community come in and help save their problem? Now, for me, just a quick story about me. I was a teenage parent. Matter of fact, my eldest child's birthday was 2 days ago. He turned 27. Kamari Jr. turned 27. I couldn't do a lot of the things I wanted to do. Oftentimes, I had to watch my friends go off to college and have fun and do things that I wish I could do. But I couldn't, because I had a responsibility. And that responsibility was mine, right? So there's no blaming, right? I had to be accountable for my actions and the outcome of those. However, y'all probably hear me say I'm an HBCU wannabe, because I wanted to go to Howard. I wanted to go to Howard, got accepted to Howard, couldn't go because I had to work to take care of my son. What would have been like and again, this is just the thought, what would have been if the community rallied around and said, you know what, Kamari, we got you. We're going to send you. We're going to figure out a way for you to take care of your son, so you can further elevate yourself, so you can become an even better parent to your child over time, right? But a lot of us are very much squarely rooted in this idea of Americanized individualism, which again works against us, which again is a lie. Because when you really look at wealth, when you look at the banks, when you look at hedge funds, when you look at mutual funds, when you look at insurance, they are all a form of cooperative economics. Their community got involved. Their community put money together. Their community said, you know what, let's do this thing for whatever reason. And it benefited them, right? So they use group economics to create wealth. Now, a big thing people don't talk about is their pursuits in government and racist in government also helped propel white wealth establishment, especially after World War II with the GI Bill, especially with redlining when they created white flight and they created the suburbs, which all kind of intermingles together, right, to do things. But they initially figured out ways to do that, whether it be a family, a group of friends. They put their money together and they said, hey, we're going to do this. We see many foreign people that come to the United States do the same thing. Everybody jokes about the quote unquote Patels, right, owning all the 7-Elevens. And again, I'm not saying they're all Patels. They're not Patels. I'm just telling y'all that's the lingo many of us use when we talk about them. We look at the quote unquote poppy stores. By the way, the poppy stores a couple generations ago were delicatessens sometimes that were owned by Jewish families. But we see every community will figure out ways to pull money together and do things together in a peaceful, harmonious way. Not to say that they don't have issues, but I'm just highlighting that to say that Those are things that we got to start figuring out. We need to figure them out really quickly. All right. So again, Michelle says that's for white folks, right? They can afford to lose money. Again, it kind of goes back to the conversation me and Courtney have. Shout out to the Ivy Investor. My grandmother trusted financial institutions to keep her rainy day money and park her paycheck until she paid her bills. But that was it. She didn't even trust the U.S. Postal Service to deliver her bill payments on time. But Big Mama would spend half a day every month riding around Baltimore, paying her utility bills, mortgage, and car loan. She made a habit of writing down the name of whoever took her cash, writing the person that if the payment wasn't posted promptly, there would be hell to pay. Now that resonated with me because I had a grandmother, we called her mother, that was very much like that, right? She would definitely be all around town getting money orders, paying stuff. And again, did not have a large trust of institutions. Didn't have a large trust of institutions, right? So we have to figure out, one, if the institutions that we're working with are worthy of our money all the time, businesses, nonprofits, in our community, outside our community, because that's a continuing issue. If you look at what just happened with Wells Fargo just fired 100 of their employees because they got access to PPP funds. Personally, the Wells Fargo employees got access to PPP funds in a very fraudulent manner. But Wells Fargo, not too long ago, also was creating fake accounts. But Wells Fargo also was kind of participating in redlining, in modern day redlining, at the end of the Great Recession, 07, 08, 09, because they were giving all these predatory loans. And they tend to give those predatory loans to who? Us, Black folks, the Black community. And they're not alone. There are a lot of other banks doing that. So, we have to figure out ways to support our banks, use our banks, Black-owned banks. And I know what somebody's going to say. Somebody's going to say, but a lot of the Black-owned banks are funded with white dollars. Yes, again, learn the system, leverage the system, pimp the system. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do until you're in a place of stability in order to get further through. But all right, I want to go back through and keep going on with this article just really quickly. I don't want to bore anybody. But I think this article is really, really relevant. And I'm going to share a book that really highlights this as well. All right. Fear drove her grandmother to save, but it also kept her from growing her wealth by investing in the stock market. So that kind of speaks to, there's a term I say, sometimes you can be so conservative that you become the risk, and you kill your own money because you only want it to be in the savings account or in the mattress under your bed. So it becomes an issue. Big Mama eventually put aside about $20,000 for her retirement, but she kept it all in a simple savings account. The bank teller couldn't even persuade her to put money in a short-term certificate of deposit. And Grandma would say, no, ma'am, leave my money right in the savings. Now, I know many of y'all who got Nana, Big Mama, Nana, whatever, can probably relate to that. Auntie, even uncles and dads, pop-pops, the whole thing. So, when you look at it, think about this. She's really hitting it on the nail. Those who like to pigeonhole Blacks as financially illiterate argue that the disparity results from failure of Blacks to comprehend the importance of investing. This viewpoint ignores the history of slavery and its enduring impact on the descendants of enslaved. All right. So going back to the Federal Reserve data for 2019 survey, consumer finances found that Black families are far less likely than white families that have retirement investment accounts. I know that to be my own personal experience from my years of being a quote unquote financial advisor, from my years of being a quote unquote tax accountant. I see that upfront and personal all the time. Among middle-aged families who have the highest rates of account ownership, 65% of white families have at least one retirement account compared to 44% of Black families, the Fed said. Those who like to pigeonhole Blacks as financial illiterates argue that the disparity results from the failure of Blacks to comprehend the importance of investing. This viewpoint ignores history, right? I read that. They pulled it out. And yes, I'm back to this again. Well, Michelle, you might ask, what's your solution? So I love this here. She says, no, you don't get to put this on me. as a black woman, she's saying, no, you don't get to put this on me. You should be asking, what can I do? The first thing you can do is seek to understand and empathize with how deeply discriminatory policies and practices, past and current, continue to affect blacks. Let's start with why my grandmother was so frightened of risk. Her fears went far beyond her wariness of the stock market to see their source. I need to take you back to her past, my history. All right, so I'm just going to read this one passage, and then I'm going to give you the rest of my thoughts. I will share this link to this article as well, the other article, in the comments and the show notes once this podcast is published. All right, so Black Mama's grandfather, Bird Drumright, was 18 when slavery was abolished. His mother, Leah, my great-great-great-grandmother, was impregnated by the white man who owned her. Our family history book used the term impregnate rather than rape, but rape is what it is because she did not have free will. Family stories passed down also told us that 2 of her enslaved daughters ran away after an overseer brutally beat them. They were later found dead in the river. They drowned trying to escape slavery. Okay. Americans must stop discounting. Let me start again, y'all. Americans must stop discounting slavery as something that happened so long ago that it can't possibly factor into the economic inequality that still plagues Black communities. All right. So again, I don't want to read the whole article to y'all, put y'all to sleep, but there's a lot of points in there, right? Money issues usually isn't about money. Money issues usually are a result of something fundamental in your mindset, fundamental, and really it's all mindset, but fundamental in your education, fundamental to something else. Doesn't mean that Black folks can't comprehend investing. Again, John Rogers was quoted in one of those, and he's one of the best institutional investors to ever do it. Black folks can invest. Black folks have more than the ability to invest. But again, we still have to overcome much of our programming that we got from everything from slavery to Jim Crow to black codes to redlining to, again, crack cocaine being distributed in our communities. Not just crack cocaine, all drugs, right? It's definitely an institutional policy. Now, here's the thing. One of the things that they mentioned in the article, I don't think I read it to you, but the majority of Black assets are in their residence, in their home, where they live, where they sleep. That's where the majority of assets are. So maybe we need to rethink that strategy. We can use real estate as an investment tool, right? But maybe we shouldn't be trying to use real estate, our residential real estate, as an investment. Maybe we need to look at it a little bit differently. I personally don't look at where I live as an investment, not monetarily. I look at it as a place to live. I look at it as a place to lay my head. I look at it as a place to create memories with my family, a place to educate my children with what's going on and how I see things, and how I see the world, and encouraging them to read and research and do things so they can develop their own worldview. All right. So, but it's not just in where I live, right? The financial gain is not there. So, there's this big argument about, is your house an investment? So if we're looking at it from a purely accounting standpoint, right, you have assets and you have liabilities, right? Typically you need a liability, aka a mortgage, to buy the asset, which in this case, many of us think is an investment. Now, let's back up though. Why do Blacks feel that their residential home is an investment? A lot of it has to do with institutionalized racism. Many people don't realize that when we, at one point, we could not buy homes. We were only secluded to certain places. And then there was a point when we could buy homes, and then they kind of stripped that away through policy, through political and governmental policy. They stripped that away. And so when Black folks were able to buy homes freely, quote unquote, air quotes, freely, they started looking at it as a great thing because they didn't have any stability for a long, long time. I mean, even when I talked to my parents, with them growing up in Philadelphia, they moved multiple times for whatever reason. A lot of it was economic stability because they didn't have homes. I mean, they didn't have good jobs, or the jobs would kind of go up and down, but the job market was kind of pit against them, right? We need to understand all of the history so we can put it all in context. Again, it's not just money, right? History plays a vital part in all of this. You have to understand that. And again, I'm not the guy that says, you know what, I'm blaming the government, I'm blaming the white man, I'm blaming the man for my issues. I just believe in accountability, right? And if I know that this is the history, so my next conclusion, my next question is going to be, so what am I going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? How should you do it? What should you be thinking about? Where do you want to go? Like, it generates more questions for me, right? So again, it's not just about pointing fingers. It's really about informing my context. I see so many people that have these opinions, but they're not based on any facts. They're not based on any research. They're just based on something they heard their brothers, sisters, cousins, best friends, baby mama, daddy quote, and now it has become gospel. And we see that a lot. But at some point, we have to ask ourselves, how long can we let that last? We really got to start getting to the root of things, looking at the information, analyzing the information, and then formulating a plan and then executing that plan. I see a lot of us just want to keep going kind of circular. And by the way, I'm not talking about knee-jerk reactions either. I see a lot of us say, oh, we just got to take action. We got to do something. And I get it. That comes out of frustration. But oftentimes when you do knee-jerk things, you get knee-jerk reactions. What's the response? Or what does science say? There's an equal and opposite reaction to every action you take. So you have to think about that as well. A lot of times we don't want to do that. And I get it. They just want change. They just want to react. They just want to make something happen. But, it is what it is. So again, that piece that I wrote so long ago, it still reverberates in my mind. I still think about it. And then to see kind of things, I'm not saying that they read my piece and got inspired by it, but I think anybody that's really looking at the environment, the landscape, kind of come up with a lot of the same conclusions when you're studying and when you're looking at how Black folks have been reacting to it. So again, we Black folks, right? This is the action item. This is the action item. So now we know that we lag behind white America as it relates to net worth, as it relates to wealth. What are you going to do about it? I would suggest you start reviewing your assets. I would suggest, first and foremost, I would suggest you figure out ways to review your income and figure out more ways you can make more money. 2, then how do you take that money you're making and investing it in assets? Because income alone is not enough to create wealth, not enough to create generational wealth. All right. But income alone, again, is not enough to create generational wealth. We have to figure out ownership. We have to figure out equity. So then I would say, let's look at our assets. What are we invested in? Are most of our assets in our home? Well, how do we change that? I'm not saying to move. All right. Let's be clear. I'm not saying to move. But do you diversify your asset mix? Do you now buy rental property? Do you now look at the stock market? Do you say, maybe I should start a side hustle? Maybe I should start a business, right? Maybe in order to do these things, I need more education. And that's fine too, right? We should all be lifelong learners. Learning doesn't stop the minute you leave school. That's one of the great jewels that I got from my mom. She says, you don't go to school to learn. You go to school. Wait a minute. You don't go to school. How did she say? She said, you don't go to school to learn. You go to school. I'm messing it up, y'all. I'm messing it up. Give me a minute. She said, you don't go to school just to sit there and get information. You go to school to learn, right? To be a critical thinker in conjunction with what we do here at home, right? And so once you learn how to learn, that never stops. I hope I didn't do my mom a disservice. She'll beat me. Literally, she might beat me, y'all. But I hope I didn't do a disservice. But the crux of it was, you go to school to learn how to learn. And then you take that with you in everything you do, and you never stop learning. So I'm appreciative for my mother for that. Even my grandmother, because she kind of echoed a lot of the same things, my mother's mother. But then how do we continue to keep learning? And then here's the other thing. True learning happens at exponential levels when you have other people to bounce ideas off, other people to debate with, and again, they should be of like mind, but not necessarily all clones of one another, right? I'm talking about real independent, real free thinkers. By the way, you can't be a free thinker if you're not researching and studying. You can't just do it off of hearsay from what somebody says. But that's the benefit of college. Is college way overpriced now? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But that doesn't mean that we can't figure out ways to get access to some of the resources and access to the resource and assets in college or in these universities as well. A lot of things are being opened up. There's a lot of free classroom sessions that are online. There's a lot of free seminars and lectures that are online that we could take advantage of oftentimes for free. All right. So, again, we're thinking about how should we be learning? What should we be thinking about? Where is future going to at this point, right? Where's the puck going? Where should we be going next? I'm seeing some comments in the chat that talks about tokenization, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies. We definitely know the future is going towards that. However, I also push back against them because a lot of us want to jump straight to that, to the advanced stuff. What about the basics? What about the fundamentals, right? Oftentimes I tell a story about a phone call I got. Somebody asked me, should they buy Bitcoin when Bitcoin was about $20,000. And again, that 500 was part of their quote unquote emergency fund, right? Y'all know I remixed emergency fund to opportunity fund. And that's all they really had. So how are we again creating that cushion so we can start to seize these opportunities, so we can then also look at being a bit more idealistic, right? Dreaming a little bit more, because that's where a lot of these innovations come from, just from an inspiration that you might have gotten. It might have come in the middle of the night. Now, how can you go about executing on it, or at least starting to truly plan and strategizing on it? By the way, I feel like I have to ask this. When I say think, strategize, and execute, I'm not talking about analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis. I'm not talking about overthinking the thing. I'm just saying getting a firm grasp of it and then go out and execute on it. Because guess what? You're going to have quote unquote failures, AKA lessons, but you have to test them. So you could take, let's say if you were interested in learning about the stock market. If you were interested in learning about the stock market, you can say, you know what? I'm going to take $50 in a week or pay and start to experiment with the stock market. I'm not saying you jump all in, right? By the way, you only need $1 to start investing in the stock market. Only $1. Y'all probably tired of me saying that, but you only need $1. I think I'm going to buy another dollar of Apple shares, because Apple actually just had their release this week too. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show where they announced the iPhone 12. People have been chomping at the bit to get a new iPhone. So I'm sure those sales are going to help increase the sales of Apple, which at some point will trickle down to increase the stock price of Apple. All right. But just back to what I'm saying, you can take $1, start to invest in the stock market, start to figure out, see what companies run off of, see who the CEO is, see who the management team is, start to really learn about the companies, right? It's an educational process. You can do the same thing with blockchain or Bitcoin or Ethereum. I'm not sure where Ethereum's price is right now. I think Bitcoin is like 11,000-ish at the moment. But again, you can buy it in small increments. You can buy $1 at a time, $5 at a time, $20 at a time, and really start to learn about it, start to understand it. So then you can really have a true base of knowledge to really leverage and exploit your knowledge in that area, whatever area you want to be in, right? And again, this is all in the context of creating Black wealth, making more money, right? But making more money, not just for money's sake, not for materialism's sake, not to buy foreign cars or so-called foreign luxury designs. They could all go jump off a bridge. Hopefully y'all take y'all money and go buy Black stuff, Black-owned businesses, no matter where they are in the diaspora. You can take that money and reinvest into our community. Guess what? We make, when I say we again, Black folks, we make just about everything that we need. From clothing to skincare to electronics to there's a lot of things. I was looking at something the other day and I was really mesmerized. Matter of fact, I got this yesterday in my pursuits of supporting Black business, right? Black Yoga Magazine. Now, we all could say yoga magazines or magazines are dead, but they can be used in different contexts, different places in a positive fashion, right? So everybody shout out Black Yoga Magazine. Shout out to the Black yogis. Because when we think about wealth, it's a holistic thing, right? What are we doing to keep our mindset sharp? Whether it's yoga, meditation, mindfulness, being still, prayer, our spirituality systems, all those things matter. All of it matters. But again, begin to learn about these wealth tools: banking, stocks, real estate, crypto. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm missing something here, but it'll probably come back to me. But again, we have to now at this point, we have the information. There's plenty of studies out there on doing things. I'm gonna, again, like I said, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna expand my article because I have a lot of other thoughts, and I'm gonna write a book about it, and I'll put it out there, and see what people think. But again, it's easy, y'all. It's easier than what you think. It's we just have to again do the work. We have to do the work, and I'm not trying to put anybody down or anything like that. I hope that's not what y'all getting from this, but nothing's going to change unless we change it. That's the underlying point. That's my underlying point. So how are we going to go about changing our Black wealth narrative, our Black wealth situation, unless we do something? Can't wait for those outside. I don't expect in this presidential campaign, everybody's up in arms about Ice Cube. I am a little disappointed in Ice Cube. I would not, however, call Ice Cube a sellout. I think that's a bit over the top, but I am disappointed. But I'm not expecting Trump or Biden, whoever wins, to truly change anything. Every time Trump does something for Black folks, there's a manipulative backdoor piece that he wants from it. By the way, look and see where the vaccine testings are happening. Same thing for Biden. And again, not to get too political, but anybody who's promoting one party over the other missed the boat, y'all. Neither one of them love us. Neither one. But with all that said, let's get into some of these comments. That's all I have to say about it. What do y'all think about Black wealth? So yeah, the question of the day: what do you think about Black wealth? And how can we increase Black wealth for the Black community? So that is the question of the day. What do you think about Black wealth? And how can we increase Black wealth for the community today? What can we do today to change that dynamic? All right, so I see I got some more people on IG. Kay Landers, how you doing? Deborah Bryant, how you doing? Tamara, how you doing? Or Tamara, how you doing? Lil Rip Jr., how you doing? King Ramadhan, I think I said it right. Correct me if I said it wrong. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining. Happy Saturday. Success J, how are you? M Childers 100, how are you? Chub, is that Chubby Mac? Chubby Mac. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I hate messing up people's names. Reason why I hate messing up people's names is because folks messed up my name all my life. So yeah, I got a little trauma over that, y'all. So I try my best. All right, so you signed the mentality we prove significantly inhibiting as the digitalization of things, e.g. assets become more prevalent. Yes, I agree. It's Jimmy the Meme God. So shout out to Jimmy the Meme God. Jimmy, I'm on your heels though. I'm coming for you. Tax season is finally over. I hope everybody filed their taxes. October 15th was the deadline for everyone who filed an extension. If you did not file, you should file right away. Why? Because if you didn't file and you owe the IRS money, you're going to get all kinds of penalties. Late filing penalty for non-failure, then the interest on top of it. The IRS is really like a loan shark, y'all, with some of these interests. But again, you got to learn the system, leverage the system, and pimp the system. So stay out the way. Hello. Living Life 519. Hello, Lorraine from South Carolina. Oh, South Carolina, that's where my grandmother hails. Where a lot of my family hails. Patriotism. Yeah. Patriotism is less than self-preservation. Yeah, but a lot of folks don't think like that. They want to be American first, even though America has not put us first at all. at any turn since we've been here. Uh, Delta Lucy, are you a Delta? You part of the Rock? Put the Rock sign up. Good morning from Louisville. Learn Leverage Pimp. Yes, man. Naz the Gig Account. How are you, sir? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Don Johnson says she has a podcast. I'm assuming you're talking about Michelle Singletary. If so, I need to look that up. I've been a fan of Michelle Singletary for a long time. Tell her I said what up. Talton all. Two of my children, the two oldest, officially have their Roth IRA with 2 fractional shares of VYM. The earned income is from mowing lawn. Yeah, shout out. Yes, that's a good strategy. That's a good strategy to start. Absolutely. Make them understand the power of work, the value of work. Not that we are our work, but the power of work and the importance of work. I just had a thought and I lost it that fast, y'all. But that's dope. VYM is, we actually just talked about VYM. I want to say Michael asked me about VYM versus single dividend paying stocks last Wednesday during the Black Wealth Project. Excuse me, messing it up. Funny thing, y'all, I be messing up when I'm hosting the Black Wealth Project and when I'm hosting Wealthy Wednesdays or Wealthy Conversations. But we talked about the VYM the other day. On Wealthy Wednesdays. Again, Michael asked that question, which one is better? Those kids are still in elementary. Oh, dope. That's real dope. So they will have the power and the advantage and the leverage of compounding interest for a long time. Please keep them investing. Please, 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 please. And sit down and talk to them about some of the companies that they're investing into. I'm assuming you're already doing that, but if you're not, that's just my recommendation. But I think that's uber dope. That's something we all do. One of the things I do, and my kids hate me for it, is I will take an article out of the paper sometimes and I'll just talk to them about it. And I'll just talk to them about the real life implications and ramifications of, what's going on, whether it be oil, whether it be taxes, just simple things sitting around the dinner table. And I try, and I know I can nerd out, y'all, right? I get that. I've been getting it all my life. But I try to make it simple, easy and plain and related to, just regular everyday stuff. Hey, Tiffany. How you doing, Tiffany? Tiffany reminded me to say this, right? Listen, so welcome everybody who's here watching the Finance Rebel Show. This is our Wealthy Conversation segment. This is our Saturday segment. Do me a favor, if you know someone who wants to increase their financial IQ, they want to learn more about money. I basically committed my life to money. My whole working career is about money. And I come here on Wednesdays and Saturdays and any other time I can drop in to talk with you all about money and share some of my experiences, some of my perspectives and thoughts on it. So share this out with them so we can get a better Black community that understands the power of their wealth, so we can use our wealth, our money, for our further freedom, our further liberation, to end our overall oppression. All right, so kids are still in elementary. Hey, Angela, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tokenization of assets can be a viable tool for our community as well. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just would like us to learn the basics first, of what an asset is before we get into the tokenization of a thing. Again, nothing wrong with tokenization. And Talisha, you are vital. You are necessary. By the way, I don't know if anybody had a chance to watch the interviews I did with Talisha Shine and the Black Wealth Project. Also with Talisha Shine, who is part of the Black Blockchain Consortium. This lady is awesome. She's dynamite. So check her out as well. Don Johnson, every family needs a wealth building plan. For me, invest 60% of my income is a must. John also said, just had breakfast from a Black owned spot. Best grits of all time. All right. Listen, grits matter. And grits from a Black owned business matter, y'all. Hey, Eshaw, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mark Daniel says, because fractional investing is a possibility, we have to make gifting power the norm, opposed to giving Jordans and other tangible gifts. Yeah, I actually wrote, again, did I write this? I did a video, right? So just piggybacking off of Mark. We should take our birthdays. We should take our children's birthdays and our children's holiday celebrations as an opportunity to give stock. It's another opportunity. It's another way to create the conversation, right? I'm sure all us parents have gone to McDonald's at some point. I'm sure all our parents want the Big Mick, or excuse me, the Big Mac. Um, but how do we talk about this from not just a consumer standpoint? How do we talk about it from an investor standpoint? How do we talk about it from a business standpoint? How do we talk about it from a creator or creation standpoint? I would say buy the stock. Makes it a lot easier. But stock, especially dividend stocks, is probably the greatest form of passive income. That's number one. Number two, typically it's the gift that keeps on giving. You're typically not going to deal with tenants who said, I got laid off this month. Or tenants that said, you know what? I got my check, but I had to buy my kids some clothes before I could pay rent. No diss to people who have to pay their clothes, but children also need a place to sleep. But so, yes, I would look at all those things as opportunities to do that. I also think that we need to shift. Again, Jewish people, and listen, I don't ever want to become somebody. I do believe in using other people as models. I do believe the Jewish community represents a great model for Black communities, but I don't want to be Jewish, even though we are the original Jews, but that's a whole other thing. I'm not looking to become Jewish, but some of the stuff they do, I think is powerful. Their bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah for the boy and the girl, respectively, I think could be a powerful thing if we adopted it ourselves. Instead of spending $5,000 a year on Christmas, maybe we spend $5,000 on investing in some stock, or maybe we spend $2,000 on investing in stock and $3,000 on the trinkets, the widgets that we like to buy, right? So, yes, you are. All right, it's the Rock. The Rock's in the building. Okay, so Talisha says, that's my 18th birthday gift for my daughter on Monday. Oh, what's the gift? What's the gift? Got to share with us the gift. Is it stock? Is it Bitcoin? Is it Ethereum? Is it one of those new fancy blockchain coin thingy, doohickey deposit thingies? All right, so going to Instagram, Interstate Marco, how you doing? 4PB _ J, how you doing? ASAP _ Finn, how you doing? Thank you for joining. So again, folks, so what do y'all think? What are some solutions? What are some solutions that the Black community can do to start leveraging? Mark just gave us one. Don kind of gave us one, right? He went and shopped at a Black-owned establishment. Again, only 2% of Black dollars go to Black-owned businesses. 2%, y'all. I think that's kind of whack. That's kind of whack. So listen, one of the things I'm starting now is I want to be able to communicate with my audience, not just through Facebook, not just through Instagram, not just through YouTube. So I'm asking all of you to join my community now. Just text me 215-974-0058. Again, 215-974-0058. Get in the community. You can ask questions. I can respond to them directly to you. I will use some of them for our Wealthy Wednesdays Ask Kamari section or the live Q&A section as well. That's the way I'm going to start taking all the questions going forward, because I'm getting questions via text. I'm getting questions on Instagram. I'm getting questions on Facebook. I'm getting questions emailed to me. And it's becoming a bit overwhelming, but I want to keep it going. But I just want to keep it going in an organized fashion. Plus, I don't want to rely on the folks to let me be able to communicate with you all. So listen, join the community, the Finance Rebel community, the text community. It's, again, 215, just text Finance Rebel, 215-974-0058. Again, text Finance Rebel, 215-974-0058, and join the community so we can keep these conversations about wealth going. All right, so no other comments? Okay, Talisha says she stocks. Oh, so you're getting her stocks for her 18th birthday. What stock? What stock? Come on. Give us all the deets. Give us the juice. Give us the juice. All right, so yes, thank you, Lorraine. 215-974-0058. It's totally free. no cost. So come on in, keep these conversations going offline. And listen, online is good. Social media is great when used properly, right? But we also have to recognize that if we are totally going to be reliant on these folks to communicate, we playing the game backwards. And good spirits, I don't want to play the game backwards, y'all. I want to play the game right. Because sadly it is a game. It is a game. Okay, again, 215-974-0058. Text me now. Join the community. Big Man Tech, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Don't come in here with no shenanigans either. I got something for you. But shout out to Big Man Tech. Big Man Tech is a longtime friend of mine, damn near a lifelong friend of mine, who has just started his YouTube channel. Hashtag support Black content creators. Started by my man Don Johnson. But go support Big Man Tech's YouTube channel, y'all. But any other questions anybody got? Or comments, statements, concerned? I love what I'm seeing here from the tokenization of assets from Talisha to, having your kids make money, right? As long as your children can make money, earn money, they can put that money into a Roth IRA. So that's a great thing. And again, you said they're in elementary school, so that means they're 12 and under. Typically, they're 12 and under, so they got a long time to let that money sit and double up. Watch that money pile up. So, encourage your kids to do things like that. Encourage your kids to do things like that. Make sure you do it within the letter of the law. I see a lot of jankiness going on out here in these social media streets. Everything from LLCs give you better tax breaks. They don't. All right. Please stop listening to all these social media gurus that give y'all bad info. Everybody on social media is not an expert. Just the idea of being a guru or being called a guru, I don't even like. Now, tell me this, y'all. People call me an expert. I never call myself an expert on anything, even though I do have the time and this thing, a bit, like I said, I pledge my life to it. But I'm not really into titles, though. So, again, maybe that's me. Maybe I am not self-promotional enough. Maybe I am not, I don't know, keyword friendly enough using the buzzwords. But to walk around and say, I'm a guru or I'm an expert and try to elevate yourself above somebody else, in my opinion, you're whack. So Adrian says, I have a newbie question about investing. Is learning options a better way of investing in stocks? So for newbies, I would say no. You need to understand stocks first, because typically most options are a derivative, right? Meaning that options pricing, options value typically comes from stocks. It actually comes from some other things too. You can buy option on commodities like gold, like what else? Gold, oil. You can buy options on a lot of things. You can buy options on currency. Some options are better than others. Typically, though, now you're talking about people buying stock options. But again, it's a derivative. So the value of it comes from stocks. So the underlying, right, what's under the engine of options are stocks. So you should understand stocks. I think as a newbie, you should understand stocks and the market first before you move to options, before you move to all the fancy stuff. A lot of us want to jump to the fancy stuff, the sexy stuff, before we learn the fundamentals. Learn the fundamentals first. Understand how the market works, because at some point it's going to come back. You're going to need to understand how the market works when you see something funny happen with your options. So I would say spend some time there and listen. I don't know how fast or slow you learn, but you only have to be there as long as you have to be there. And if you're dedicated and diligent to learning it, you may be able to learn it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. I'm not saying you're going to be a master, but you could possibly learn it and understand it, and then maybe move on to the next thing. But I would understand stocks through and through before you move to options. That is my opinion. Can I give the number again? Sure can. All you got to do is text it. It's free. Number is 215-974-0058. Again, text me now, 215-974-0058. And it's me at the other end. You get some automated messages in the beginning, but it's me at the other end going back and forth. Not going to spam y'all either. But, I'll keep you aware of what's going on. I'll keep you aware of anything that I see. So there will definitely be a lot of value given in this text exchange, in this community. So any other comments? Because it's Saturday, it's 1 p.m. I've been rocking with y'all for an hour and a half. I know how I get about my food. Got to go get some vittles. So I got some more work to do. While tax season is officially over, I got some more tax stuff I got to do because clients will be clients. I'll just put it like that. All right. Sakina, I think I said it right. Hopefully I said it right. All right. What apps or platforms would you recommend using for investing in stock for children? It depends on their age. I tell people who are just starting out, just use your Cash App if you have Cash App. Use your Cash App and you can buy for them. If you want to, there's another platform you can actually open up. They're going to open up what's called a uniform Gifts to Minors Act account or uniform trust to minors account. They're different, but they're kind of the same. And I'm messing it up for y'all. But listen, you can open up a kid's account where they have power over it, or where you have power over it, but you can invest for them. All right. And you can do that with Stockpile. This is not an endorsement for any one of these platforms. I'm just answering the question. I've used Stockpile to give stock gifts, right? Because that's one of the things. So teens, yeah, I would do it because I think in order to open the brokerage account on Cash App, I think you got to be 18 or above. Gibson Consulting, how are you? Welcome. Thank you for joining. So yeah, you could do that. And then, you could also open up an account with any of the big brokerage firms. They're almost all free to open now. You got TD Ameritrade, you got E-Trade, Charles Schwab, several others. There's a lot of accounts or a lot of platforms that you could open up. M1 Financial, never used M1, but I know that's a place you can do. Not sure about Robinhood for teens, but that Robinhood is another platform that's out there that's on your phone that a lot of people use as well. So there is a lot of platforms that you can use. I hesitated because I'm thinking maybe I'll do some research once I get over tax season, like for real. Maybe I'll do some research and I'll create a list of some of the best platforms to use for your children. So let me just make a note of that, because if I don't, I will forget. Best platforms for children investing. Yep. But it's good that you're even thinking about it. Can I put the text number in the chat again? Sure can. If I can find it. There we go. Yes, UGMA. So UGMA is one, and then so UGMA, and again, we're talking about children's accounts, right? So UGMA is Uniform Gift to Minors Act account. Yes, I think I botched that. And then there's also a UTMA. So it's a Uniform Transfer of Minors Act, or Transfer to Minors Act, or something like that. I have, in all these years, I don't know the difference. I know there is some difference. I probably need to get Courtney on here to figure out what the actual difference in the law is. But they very much do basically the same thing. You can put money in an account, you can invest it in stocks. The child can get it once they either turn 18 or 21, typically. But the parent is in control of the money. That is kind of the gist of it all. Ron 786, how you doing? Thank you for joining us today. All right, folks. Like I said, I got to go get my vittles. Again, join the text community. Join the Financial Rebel text community. It's 215-974-0058. And that way, you don't have to get on Facebook to communicate with me. Then that way, you don't have to necessarily get on Facebook to get my thoughts on certain situations, because I'll be sharing them out. And again, we can stay all together and we can actually form a real community that doesn't depend on the algorithms getting to you. Because when I say I'm fighting against the algorithms, I'm fighting against the algorithms. I can't tell you how many people say, Kamari, why don't you have more followers? Now, for the record, I don't really care about the follower count. I care about the connection with the people. But sadly, you can't really get the connection with the people in this context without getting a higher follower count. So Miss K, the student, how you doing? Happy Saturday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So again, everybody, don't forget tomorrow we will be back. I will be back. The Black Wealth Project. Again, the Black Wealth Project will be airing at 7 p.m. Look out for that, 7 p.m. Tomorrow's topic. What is tomorrow's topic? Okay, tomorrow's topic is what are the, I'm messing this up. So tomorrow's topic is the biggest detractors or the biggest weapons against Black wealth. That's what we'll be talking about today. So tomorrow it is By the Hood, which is Jimmy and Corey, who are crypto experts, who are real estate experts. Jimmy and Corey, I both believe, are buying into precious metal. So we have some precious metal expertise over there as well. We have Courtney Richardson, the Ivy investor, who is a lawyer who has an LLM. What is an LLM? LLM is a taxation designation that you can only get when you are a lawyer. So basically, she is a tax attorney. So we have tax attorney Courtney, and then we also have Tracy Powell, real estate Tracy, who's out here moving and shaking in these real estate streets. So combined, we probably have over 60 years of financial services, probably more than that, because I have 20 by myself, but at least 60 to 70 years of financial services expertise and billions of dollars of financial transactions under our belts. So come on over to the Black Wealth Project, 7 p.m. tomorrow. Again, we'll be talking about Black wealth at a 360 view and a holistic view. We do that every Saturday at 7 p.m. And so Town Hall, I just put the text message up there again. Text is 215-974-0058. All right, everybody, listen. For next week's show, for Wealthy Wednesdays, do me a favor. Text your questions for next week's show, for next week's Wealthy Wednesday that I do every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Text to that number, and we'll get the show popping. And I will see you all tomorrow, and then I'll see you all on Wednesday, if not before. So everybody have a great Saturday. By the way, do some research and tell me what you're thinking about over the week. Tell me what you think are some good investment opportunities over the weekend. So that's the question and the homework for the weekend. Look at some things that could potentially be great investment possibilities over the next 10 to 20 years. All right, folks, I'll see you all again. I appreciate you all. I'm honored that you're here. Y'all stay blessed and y'all keep researching. Have a great night or a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.